Hi, welcome everyone. It's Chris Petri. Thanks so much for coming by. I'm so happy you're painting here with us all. We're having a fun time on this channel. We're doing everything watercolor. So whenever you come to this channel, you're going to be doing everything watercolor. We do everything from streetscapes like this to landscapes. We do flower paintings, figure painting. We do portrait painting. We do boats and seascapes. So we basically do everything here watercolor. We change our subject matter, of course, but for the most part, everything is watercolor. And we're going to have a lot of fun today with this Oatman Hotel out in Arizona. This is a beautiful area of Arizona. There's saloons and sidewalks, and this is a beautiful old, from the 50s, the Oatman Hotel. It's got a beautiful arcade, arches, beautiful sunny day in Arizona. Cars on the street, cars right here. We have a pickup truck and another sports utility vehicle here. A saloon. We have a donkey here. And we have really interesting signs happening. We use lots of colors. So we're going to have a lot of fun doing this painting. Thanks so much for coming by. And I always mention, too, if you haven't subscribed and you really find that you like this channel, please consider subscribing. It's right. Subscribe button is right on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You click subscribe. You can always unsubscribe if you do it now. It's fine. It's great. This way, if you don't like it at the end of the video, by the end of the video, you can always unclick subscribe, and But if you subscribe, you'll get all my videos. In case I don't want you to forget, please subscribe now if you can. And this way, you won't forget by the end of the video, and this way you'll be subscribed. You'll get all my new videos. You check all my videos out. The ones you want to paint, you paint those, draw and paint those. And the ones that you're not sure if you want to paint them or not, you can just watch them. You'll learn a lot just from watching and listening to how we're doing things and watching how we're putting on the paints and washes and drawing and colors and all that good stuff. So I'm glad you're here. We're going to have a lot of fun doing this painting, and we'll just get started in like 2 seconds. Okay, we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're getting started again. You just saw the finished painting. Always on this channel, I like to start out the first part of the video just to kind of showcase the painting that we're going to do in most cases. Occasionally when we do like kind of tutorials that are about techniques or paint swatches or color charts, things like that, we might not put the finished painting on first. But for this, for the videos that we do, you'll always know we'll always do the first part of the video, the first couple minutes or so is going to be the finished painting. So you'll always see the finished painting first. And it's a good way to kind of know if you're going to want to paint it or not. So you'll look at it and go, oh yeah, I definitely want to try that one, or I'm going to wait on that one. Maybe I might try that. Maybe in a couple months or a couple weeks, whatever it is. But you might want to just watch it anyway. I always say watch all the videos that I create here, because I always cover the same information over and over. So all the techniques and methods that we cover here week by week as we're making videos, it's all good information that the more you hear it, the more you're going to memorize it and learn it, and then it just goes and translates into better paintings for yourself. So no matter what you're doing, if you're watching a lot of videos, you're always going to benefit from that. I've watched tons of videos, and I still watch videos, not as many as I did when I first started watercolor, but that's just a little bit of information that I like to share, is that watching videos is always a good thing. And especially I used to watch them a lot when I was tired. I get home from work, I was too tired to paint and draw. I'd just put in a video, one of my favorite videos, or I'd watch YouTube and binge on YouTube videos and watching all the great watercolor artists out there on YouTube. So I still do that. I still watch YouTube videos, and I still have my video collection that I have. But in any case, let's get started. So we did see the finished painting. So now I have an extremely light sketch of the painting so that we didn't have to take too much time on that. And what I actually did was I just kind of sketched out the idea of the painting first. And it's a previous painting I've done before, so it's a little easier to do a light sketch really lightly, looking at my photograph on my phone. And then all you have to do when you do this video is take a picture with your phone of your TV screen, or you could do it if you have a TV screen. If you have your computer, you could take a picture of your laptop computer or your desktop computer, or you could do a screen capture on your phone. We just covered that a couple weeks ago. If you look in my archives on using your phone and computers for your artwork. for reference photos. You'll see that video. It's just a couple videos ago. Maybe last week we did that. So basic thing is, get the photograph or just use it. Just leave it, hit pause and leave the finished painting in this beginning of this video. And you use that for your reference photo. So you would watch the video full through here on this particular video, watch it full through, then go back to the beginning and then hit pause on the very first minute or two where I show the painting. And once you have that full painting on your screen, you just hit pause on YouTube and you're set, and you can paint right from that. And if you have to tap your phone to have your phone light back up again, I do that too myself. My phone that I use, for some reason I can't get it back to the original settings where you could just leave it on and it stays on for, hours or whatever. The screen goes dim after like a few minutes. So I just keep tapping my phone as I need to as I work. So we have this preliminary sketch. So now we're going to do the final contour drawing. So we're just going to go through the painting, and I'll probably start out, maybe I'll start over here. Usually I start on the left side. I'm a right-handed person. So if I'm going to start my drawing, better to start my drawing on the left side or center, and then maybe left. Less smudging of the lead on the paper, but that's not such a big deal. Painting is another thing, but in any case, start wherever you like to. You're the artist, you make that decision. I think I'm just going to start pretty much in the center of the painting, and I think this will come out pretty good. The lighting is good here, so I'm just going to take my time. And now we're doing this archway here. So this is a arcade with arches along the underside of this building. And then out here is a saloon. This is in Arizona. This painting is, I call it the Oatman Hotel. The Oatman Hotel. And we're just going to carefully draw everything as we go. And I'm going to try to stick with... the so here I'm just kind of staying in the center of the painting. It's kind of good if you can stay in the center of the painting. It's always good to do that if you can. And then I just kind of hop, skip, and jump around over here. This is the other part of the archway. These are columns, large columns, and then the archways in between. This is a really fun painting to do, to draw and paint. It's got that real like lattice type feel where you're seeing through the picture, lots of three-dimensional quality to it. That's our column here. And we have multiple columns over here. So we do that one there. And we have a donkey over here. And I'm just contour drawing around. I'm just going to go around here. And we have the eyes up here. A little beard on our donkey here. And we have some things kind of trailing into the distance. This is a bench over here, I think, too, as well, in the distance. And always remember, when you're painting and drawing, or in your artwork in general, you know, you can always leave areas that you're drawing, let's say, and painting, areas that don't have to be exactly defined or spelled out 100%. So always remember that your human eye, when you're looking at something visually, art paintings and the TV, pictures, books, whatever it is, whenever you're looking at something, your eye only has a small, limited amount of vision that you focus in on, like, and can see very clearly, and very everything is in really clear focus. So your eyesight has a limited area, somewhat like if my hand's like this. So if you can imagine your eyesight, whenever you turn your head, you're seeing everything very, very clearly and crisply in this amount of space here, and everything on the outsides is more fuzzy and dim. So if you can imagine, if someone's looking around your painting, or if they focus on the middle of your painting like here, the areas on the outsides are going to kind of be more fuzzy and not as clear in focus. So if you can remember that when you're doing your painting and your composition, when you're drawing and painting, you can just recall that, you know, you can maybe make one area your focal point where you do most of your detailed work, and then the rest you can kind of leave soft and not as detailed. Maybe the colors aren't as bright and exciting. So that's just an idea with your paintings you can kind of use. Hopefully that'll be helpful. You're the artist. You can use this idea, or you may not like that idea and you just want to paint it, everything kind of the same. That's fine too. That works. But just an idea, a technique that you can use, or a method that you can use to sort of make it a little easier when you're doing your painting. So I'm maybe not going to get as detailed on every section of this painting. I might leave some areas where I don't have to make every detail critically accurate. You know, some areas you can kind of just leave, you know, a little more loose and free, and let the colors blend and homogenize together. So I'm going to continue here. You know, we've been drawing here now for a few minutes. I think I can draw a little more, but I will take a break in a few. I always like to take breaks. And sometimes what happens is, if I draw too much for too long an amount of time, I start to like lose track of my angles and curves and things like that. So that's why I like to take breaks, just to. And then we're going to have the little sign here. This is hanging from the ceiling in the arcade. We have it. The sign is there. The Oatman Hotel. So we'll paint that in. I just wrote that in very lightly. Oatman Hotel. Oatman. O-A-T-M-A-N, very loosely. This looks like a sign that was painted by hand with a small paintbrush by somebody that put the sign up here in this arcade. And then we have this line, comes in here. All right, you know what, I'm starting to get a little bit tired. Let me take a break, and we'll come right back and we'll finish up our drawing. So we're pretty much halfway through our drawing. You can kind of see we've put a lot of pencil drawing in already, and we'll be right back, okay? So we'll just take a quick break. Thanks. All right, we're back up and running again here. We have our pencil drawing going. I'll take the paints out of the plastic here. I have this in a refrigerator. I have a small, one of those like small mini fridges in my studio, and I keep my palettes in a plastic bag in the cool refrigerator, and they stay great. I could leave my palettes in my fridge for like months, and usually they're pretty good for the most part. So a little bit of mold on a few colors, but nothing too that difficult. So we'll take our palette out now, because we're going to be starting to paint soon. So I'll just put this over here. I just used a large Ziploc bag, and then I just trimmed it down a little bit, and then put some clear packing tape on it to make it a smaller bag that fits just right with the size of the palette. And it just makes it a little more convenient when I'm just putting it away and putting it into the fridge, instead of having to roll up the bag, and I have multiple pallets in the refrigerator, so it's kind of neater if I take the bag and make it smaller, and then everything fits in the fridge good. So that's that. And I'll just start my cleaning process here. So I just usually dip a paper towel in my water container, clean, fresh water. I change my water container all the time when I'm painting. And I just clean up the palette. And then maybe a little bit later, after we're done doing the drawing, we'll just take off some of the mold. There's a little bit of mold on the cadmium lemon yellow, so we'll do that. Not a big deal. All right, so we're going to finish our pencil drawing. We're pretty much, we've done we've done good here. We did a good job doing our drawing, so let's continue to do our pencil drawing. So I'm just going to finish up here. This is the soffit area, which is the ceiling area inside this arcade. So these are the beams up in the soffit. They're like large, heavy wood timbers, like 2x4s. And so we're just going to make the 2x timbers. They might be even bigger than that, but they're probably actually 3" by a foot or more. They look like heavy timbers, so we'll put them up here. And that's good. Once we have those lines, we're good enough. We're going to paint that all in, and we're not going to get too detailed with that. We just want to make sure we have it looking good. And then I'm going to look for my phone. So I'm just going to get back to my photo. I'll set that back up on my table here, my art table, the photograph, so I can just kind of reference back to it. So across here is a wall, and that wall ties into over here, like that. So we have this wall here, and then there's a bit of this arch showing, the underside of the archway, which has some light on it, some reflected light. So I'm just going to make that second line for the arch. And these vertical lines are like beams for the wall here. And there's some windows up here. Nothing too fancy. Other than that, we're pretty good. And there's a bench here. We have that drawn in. That looks good. And again, I'm setting up my phone so that I'm trying to set up my phone. Sometimes my phone there we go. Okay, so I have my phone set up across from me, and I'm just going to draw a couple more lines over here. Then we have the car over here. There's a sedan over here, and this is probably a photograph from the 70s, I would say. Late 70s maybe. So there's like a 70s style sedan over here on the right. There's also another column over here. Now that's really important to get that column over here in. And I'm just going to make sure it's here on the painting. And then it slowly slopes up this way like that. So that's going to be another column like these here. And it makes like a beautiful picture frames of interesting information as we go through the painting. I think that looks really good. Kind of closes in the scene too with this column over here. And then we have a utility pole here for communications lines, and that's going to be, and then we have some wires going across. This one actually goes a little bit lower. Like that. That's better. And then there's the mountains in the distance here and the sky. We have lots of beautiful blue sky with some kind of white clouds in the sky, so that looks good. And here we have light going through. That's another column here. And then this one is like that. So we have some sky over here. So now, this is really a good time to mention that if you're doing a painting where there's, I would say areas you might have like a background, and then you have a foreground, and you have areas where you have sky, then some structure, these columns, and then you have sky, columns, and then more sky, and then columns. So sometimes when you have something like this in a painting, the best way to kind of keep track of it when you're painting is to maybe draw like an S here in this location for sky, and then an S over here for sky, and then an S over here for sky. This way you just kind of, when you're painting, you won't paint over your sky area with maybe the golden color of the columns that we're going to paint. So if that makes sense. And then sometimes too when you're painting, if you want to leave white paper, you can put a W where the white paper, you want to leave that paper white. You put a W in that area, and then when you're painting, you'll see that W and go, oh, that's right, I don't want to paint over that. I want to leave that white paper. Can you see how that works? So it's a help to kind of do those little things. They might seem a little bit mundane or kind of maybe too overly detailed or, you know, bothersome, but they really do help a lot. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make sure I put my S's for sky over here and over here and over here, where between the columns, and then over here, obviously that'll be sky, but I just want to make sure I don't paint over those areas with yellow, a yellow and brown paint, because we're going to make this all golden yellow and brown. It's going to look really beautiful. So we're going to continue on here. And so I think we're looking pretty good here. Do we have anything else? I think there's some interior parts of the car here. And then there's an interior part of the car here. I'll just pencil that in a little bit. That's the other side of the car, the opposite side of the car. You can see it on the interior. And I won't get much more detailed than that with the interior of the car. I just want to make sure I get that shadowy area and the darker area in the car like that. Then this here is the door. I'm going to make the door here with the handle. And then there's another door here with another handle. Just like that. Maybe we'll make it just maybe we'll just make it a single door. That might be better. Like that. And that's good enough to tell the story of a little handle on the door of the car. And that's about it. We have everything else good. This over here is like a van in the distance over here, across the street. So that's a little bit. A van over here. And then there's a pickup truck over here. Like that with a. So we're just doing our. And this might be, we need to. Vehicles are always difficult to draw. I'm making the front of the truck here. And there's the fender. It looks okay. It looks good actually. That's a good pickup truck looking pickup truck there. The mirror is always good to put on the pickup truck or the cars. Always helps to have the mirrors on there. It really helps to have the mirrors. it just looks like something's missing if we don't put those mirrors on the vehicle. We're so used to seeing them all the time on the cars and the vehicles that they have to be on there. And then everything else looks pretty good. And then over here where the front of the pickup truck is, there's some windows over here, storefronts over here where this is. So I'm just going to put some of those storefront windows there. And the angles are pretty good. So I just want to sort of make sure my angles look pretty good across here. It looks pretty good. Like that. And there's also, I'll put a little more details here on this roof. This is a shed roof here. And there's a window over here. Might be a sign. I think that's a sign actually on the building here. And there's a top of the wall up here. There's a, so that's a wall there. And then over here's another roof. This roof comes down like this. And there's a mountain over here in the distance, like that. And I think that's good. I think our drawing is fine. We have plenty of details on our drawing. We don't want to go overboard and do every single detail. We have our signs up here. Let's do one more thing here. Let's do the sign up here. And then just a little bit of, I just scribble a little bit on the bottom. And I can make out some of these words here. Let's see, this is cold pop. And what else is that over there? I can't make out the other words, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And then over here is bar and cafe. So there's the R over here. And then cafe. Cafe. And then there's one over bar over here. So they just have a little bar painted onto the column here, letting people know there's a bar over here. And again, I think that's fine. We have plenty of the drawing done. We can go in and start doing our painting next. There is one more thing we can do. The signs here. There's down here, I'm just going to write it in, Gold City Saloon. That's on the bottom of this sign. That's underneath this arcade over here by the ceiling up here. And I'm just trying to look, see what else that might be there. Okay, that's it. And then there's another. These here I just scribble in some ideas of writing. Not too much detail on every single bit of this sign. Enough to say the Oatman Hotel and then Gold City Saloon underneath. That's good enough. And that should be good. Okay, so we're going to come back in just a few minutes. We're going to take a break, maybe 5-10 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll start painting this scene. I think we're going to have a really fun time painting this. We're going to say, before we start, let's get our light insignia on the top. Our light insignia should be up here. It's the light's coming from this direction somewhat. So that's very helpful. When we're going to start painting, we're going to keep in mind the light and the shadows. And I'll keep referring back to my painting, my previous painting that I have on my phone. And we shall see how it starts to take shape once we get back painting here. All right, so I'll set up my palette's good. I'm going to spritz some water on there before we start. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, we're ready to paint, everybody. Let's get started. I always start out with fresh, clean water in a container, water container. This is a Holbein collapsible water container. Really light, really good. It's got a metal handle on it. You can hang it on things, or you can just set it on a table. That's fine. You can collapse it and squish it down to make it smaller if you want. But this is really good, and I also use a canteen as well, so I have that. And what we're going to do is start out, we're going to use the Ala Prima method. So all of you follow me all the time, you know Ala Prima is just basically we're going to start in one place in the painting and just work from there and keep going. And we're not really going to be doing any overwashes and anything like that. So that's basically the method we're going to use, the Ala Prima method. And I'm just using my reference photo. And I'm going to start out with some of the darks and medium darks over here on the right side. And then, actually, I'm going to start over here. I should start over here since I'm right-handed. I'm better off starting over on this side of the painting and working this way. But as long as you let everything dry, you can rest your hand on your watercolor painting once it's 100% dry. So that's not a problem. But when it's drying and it's still a little bit damp, you have to be careful not to rest your hand on it. So the best way to kind of keep yourself disciplined like that is just try to start on the left side if you're right-handed and paint the painting this way over this way. Or if you're left-handed and you're painting with your left hand, then you're starting over here, and then you're going to start painting on this side of the painting and you work this way. So that's just one little helpful tip that might be good to know as you start your painting, what side to start on. But I'm going to start where I just feel comfortable starting. Maybe years ago I would start on this side and then just work this way. I want to start over here on the right because that's where the darkest darks are. So I like to start at my darkest darks first and then work through the painting that way. So the only thing I forgot, let me grab my... Okay, so I just have my apron. I like to use an apron when I paint. This is a larger painting. This is like 12 by 14. So when I'm doing a larger painting like this, I tend to use my apron to dry my brush off. And it's an easier way to dry the brush off a little bit faster. And let's start out. So I'm going to do some browns. So we're going to mix some gold colors and some browns. Some burnt sienna, and some golds, cadmium yellow. Okay, this might be good to start with. Let's see how this looks. So we're going to do this. This is the front of the building over here. Looks like wood. It's in shadow. Warm and cool everywhere, so get some cool out. I have some cerulean blue. Warm and cool everywhere, so you're going to want to try to get your colors mixed, mixtures of warm and cool instead of just going all one temperature. We'll try to keep these paints mixing. So I'm just going to carefully I'm trying to go the way of the boards here. There's vertical wooden boards on this, so let's try to keep that. And this side's in shadow, cobalt blue, a good all-purpose blue for some darker shadows over here. And let's see what we have next here. Okay, now we're going to put a little bit of green. I'm going to use some Viridian green here, mixed in with a little bit of that blue, cerulean blue. And there's a bit of a cooler roof over here with some green and blue. So I just take the brush and dampen the brush and kind of get a lighter tonal value here. Like that. And we're going to have more of that brown color, maybe a little more blue and brown. Cobalt blue, maybe a little bit of burnt umber in there, and cobalt blue, just for a little bit of a darker bit of shadow over here, the same over here. And I'm going to get that golden color in there too. And I just use my sponge here next to my water container, rinse off my brush, tap off the water, and then I go over here to my palette and get my colors. And some more burnt umber and French ultramarine blue, maybe a little darker under here. And over here we have some interesting, some cobalt blue and burnt umber, French ultramarine blue too, burnt umber, a good dark we're going to use over here. Like that. So I'm just trying to get the feel of things, but these are the really darks, the darks over here, so that's why I'm starting over here. And trying to feel my way around. I'm working from the painting, the photograph of the painting that I did a couple years ago. And then more of that wood color over here. And let's get some of that truck here. And some more of the darks here for the tires. Sometimes you can leave things white paper and then come back later once the paint dries and then finish. So I'm going to finish this truck later, the side of this truck, and I'm going to start working over here on the car. And a little bit of a dark over here on the car, the front of the car. Then we're going to have that darker blue inside the car. Maybe some blue and green, Viridian and French ultramarine blue, touch of brown. Kind of a cool color in there. I'm going to get that interior color of the car like that. Then maybe a little more green over here like that. And I'm just filling in a little bit of a lighter wash there. And again, you can touch things up later with more darks. So that's pretty good. It looks fine. And then we're going to do some colors on the side of the vehicle. A lighter wash for this side of the vehicle here. And I just bring that color right into the column. That's going to be okay, I think. Maybe there's a lighter bit of light over here, so I might blot that up a little bit. And then a little bit of and then I'll make a little bit of a darker and again, you can go back in later and add a few darks here and there to kind of make things look a little more defined. Never a problem if you see something like a flaw in your drawing, you can make something, you can draw something over again. So I think I made that other van over here too large, so I'm making the roof smaller like that. It's supposed to be across the street, and that mirror is too big. Maybe I'll make that a little smaller. I'm just counter adjusting as I go. If I see something I think that needs to get changed, but it's not too bad. I could have left it, but I figure if I see it and it looks like I can do it pretty easily, I'll just do it. And that's the windows on that van across the way here. And we can add a little bit of dark and light to it a couple of spots. Make it look interesting. Here we go. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll come back a little bit later once this dries, and I'll put a little bit of a better darker dark along this top of the door here on the interior of the car. But I think so far it looks good, and we're going to continue. We've done a decent amount. Let's work a little bit more. What we're going to have next is more brown, green, blue, gold, cadmium lemon yellow, and cadmium yellow. So we're going to want to do that. Now I'm going to take a very, very light wash of some yellow. Put that on the car door and the side of the car, because that lemony kind of golden yellow is coming from here. So we want to add that into the car. It's picking up the reflections of that gold color, that brownish gold color. So we want to make sure we have that over here. And the same over here, brown, burnt sienna, so burnt umber, burnt sienna. Rinse the brush off, dry off the brush a little bit on a sponge, and get some cadmium yellow, maybe some cadmium lemon yellow too. And we're going to start doing our I'm going to do the column over here, like that. And I'll make some dark here and there. Like that. A little bit of yellow paint, just to mix it in there a little bit. A little bit of warm and cool everywhere, so I'm going to put some blue on this too as well. Blue, cobalt blue, French ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, brown. Mix up a little dark. Okay, there's some things over here. And I lifted up a little bit of paint. Maybe I went too dark there, I think. So that's why I did the, well, I lifted up a little bit of the paint. And then we have the darker darks, French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. And we're just making that road color, the pavement here. Okay, you can see I did most of my concentrated effort here in the beginning where we have all the darkest darks. Important to do. There's not much light over here. This is in the shadow on the shadow side. So I'm doing the shadows over here with blue. And we're going to put a dark trim along the bottom of this wall here in just a few. Let's let this dry. So we're going to let this dry now. We'll do a little more details. But I think so far that's looking good. And again, this isn't really the focal point so much. We're painting this Ala Prima, everything at one time. So you can just let everything sort of, you make little highlights and spots here and there where you might make some more details. Maybe the car, pickup truck, maybe a little bit over here. The signs are going to be a focal point. These signs are going to be a focal point. And the donkey over here, this is a kind of a really cool focal point. This is always interesting, like farm animals and things. And, you know, the scenery is in itself pretty cool and interesting with the arcade and the arches and the columns and the outdoor sky in the background. So you'll see this painting is really going to come together and look beautiful as we go. But it is a larger painting, a 14, probably like a 12 by 14 or so, or 14, yeah, about 12 by 14, I think. And so it takes a little bit, you know, it takes more time to create a larger painting. And this one is really packed with a lot of interesting information. So we're doing a lot of detailed work in here, with a lot of drawing, a lot of, you know, shapes, different kinds of shapes, and lots of different colors. So keep that in mind. This is a painting you can really take your time with. You can work several weeks on it if you want. But the real best way to do a painting like this is kind of just try to do it in like a day, a full day, maybe 8 hours or 6 hours, however you can do it, maybe 4 or 5 hours, depends on your skill level. But I just want to keep using the same colors over and over and over that we're using now, and then keep working through the whole painting. And I think we can get it done in another maybe hour, probably. It takes another hour to probably finish this, I think. We'll see how it goes, but definitely going to take a break now since we did quite a bit over here. Some of these other areas up here are less detailed, so that'll go quicker. All right, we're going to be back in just a few minutes. I'm just going to take a break for about 10-15 minutes, and we'll get started. Okay, we're getting started again here. We're going to start working the mountain areas over here. So let's go in and we'll get some cobalt blue, viridian green, a little bit of burnt umber, a little more green, sap green there, a little bit cooler blue, cerulean blue. And again, I'm trying to keep in this one section on the right here. I think it's good to now I'm going to go across and tie this in like this. That. And over here too, there's a bit of some mountain over here. A little bit of purple. So I'm using a little bit of ultramarine violet in this green grass area, green mountains back here. And then if I use the purple, I'm going to try to move it through through the rest of the painting just a little bit. And blend that in. Okay, so we're going to keep working here. And then we have some more distant mountains back here. Purple and blue, cerulean maybe, and that's just a little bit of a more lighter tonal value and a little cooler maybe with the purple and the blue. And then maybe just a little change of color here. And then we're going to make a, let's work on this a little bit more. I'm going to take the smaller brush again, and we'll do some darks over here. So I'm going to go with French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna, more French ultramarine blue, a little bit of green. See if I can get this here. This kind of goes across like that. That's some trim boards over there. Then I just have to make sure I rinse the brush off really good, and then I can wet the paper here. And then I can just blot that up a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to bring down, this is a metal roof over on this side here, so we're going to leave that, like a metal color. This might be darker over here, some blue and brown. That's a wall here. And then again, some more brown and blue. And we'll make this trim along here. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to, there's some starting to get pretty muddy on the palette. Let me just going to clean up the palette a little bit. I basically know my colors. You can kind of see we're using the same colors throughout the painting. So we'll just continue using the same colors. Here, I'm going to go with a lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, a little bit of viridian, and that's going to be a distant grass field that we can see from here. It goes through the building. I might have to add some dark over here, so I'll do that now while I think of it. Blue and brown. Okay, that's the edge of the building. This is the grass field out here. And we could tie that right into the column here. And then there's a dark over here I can see, which is French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. That's like the dark we usually always mix for darks. And that is over here. There's some darks there. And once this dries, we'll put a couple, there's columns here that go like this. So we'll add those in once that dries. So we don't want to add anything in here. This is still wet and damp. And I think we're looking good so far. Some blue in there. Sky color, just to mix in some sky there. And we're going to use some of that cobalt blue sky color on this roof here. Just a little bit. And maybe a shadow under here like that, under the vehicle. And then raw umber here. We'll do more touch-ups to the car, of course, like we said, and we're going to do some Viridian green for the windows. Okay. We might use some touch-up paint over here, some white touch-up paint, titanium white, to make the front of the vehicle look a little better. And what else do we have here? Okay, so we're doing pretty good on this section over here. I think we'll keep working this way. So we're going to try using some of these colors over here. So this is like the hills over here. So we're going to take that. And then some more Viridian green, sap green, yellow. And we're just going to put some grass type colors, bright, cadmium lemon yellow and some greens over here. And a couple of greens over there to sort of repeat that idea of the greens and the yellows over here too as well. And maybe we're going to repeat those same colors in the distance over here. So these greens over here, maybe we're going to have some of those up here. Sap green, viridian green, burnt umber, cobalt blue. Okay, it's sort of a patchwork of interesting colors. It all kind of flows together across here. So you can kind of see we took the mountains, the green mountains, the hills over here, another field back here, a distant mountain back here. So we kind of keep going with that idea right through across the painting, behind the structure here, the columns. So that looks pretty good. I think we're going to take another break. And then we can start up again and we'll keep working, but I think we have mostly larger washes to do now. Most of the smaller, the only thing we have left that's going to be kind of intricate is this ceiling area here, but we're going to kind of go quickly through there and get it done really nicely. We'll use the same colors as this over here, pretty much over here. And I think we'll be good. We'll use maybe some more warmer colors for over here for the ceiling. And then we can work on the donkey and the underside of this building here, and the ceiling and the signs in the sky, and we'll be all complete. So we're getting there. We'll start up in just a few more minutes. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, we're starting up again here. We're working, continuing on. We notice that we did start with this right-hand corner here. That's where most of the darkest darks are, and it's the most intricate and most detailed part of the painting. So that's why I chose that. It's Ala Prima style painting we're doing right now. So that's the methods we're using here, Alaprima Method. And I'll continue on. We're going to make some darks here: French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. That's our staple dark usually we use. And we're going to finish this here. These are the posts in front of this saloon over here. And so we'll have that completed. Like that. Okay. And there's a post over here. So we'll just do that. And we'll do a door over here. Maybe we'll do a window there. Like that. So we'll just sort of put a couple details over here. I think that's good for now. Rinse off the brush, dry it off on a sponge. So I'm using a sponge next to the water pail. Dry off some of the water, then use a damp brush, and you can just kind of smooth that wash out to the right. Maybe a little more cool there. A little bit of coolness under there. So we try to mix colors everywhere as we go. And let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, let's continue over here. This over here, we're going to use burnt sienna, burnt umber. We can make a good mixture of this. burnt sienna, burnt umber, raw umber. Let's go with a little bit of orange and red there. And then we're going to start doing our ceiling here. And if you have a really fine area, you can get a smaller brush. So if you find that you're trying to struggle to get some paint in a certain area, if the brush is too awkward and you can't get that smaller line or wash in there, you just move to a smaller brush. This is a number 5 Da Vinci travel brush. So this is the smallest brush I usually use, I would say. Except for my needlepoint brush that I use. That's really fine, but that's for the finer details of things. And then I'll try to keep changing my colors here. So I have reds, browns, a little bit of cool too. Let's use some cool in there. Cobalt blue maybe. So we'll mix in some cools here as well. And these are the soffits, or ceilings if you will, of this arcade area, where there's a saloon to the left here. A hotel is to the left here, and a saloon, I think. So, and if you find for some reason, if you think your drawing has, or your painting has somehow, like if you mix up a line or something, you don't have to really worry about it. In an area like this over here, like the ceiling area here, I don't think it's a big deal. Not too many people might really look at that really, and kind of critique it or think about it all that much. I think people will understand that's a ceiling area over here, underneath the arcade area, the arches, and the sidewalk area. So that's, and you can splash on a little bit of water over here. Mix and mingle the colors, maybe a little more cerulean blue, more of a cooler. A couple of splashes of that. I rinse off the brush, dry it off on the and I just continue to get these washes in. And then I might splash around a little bit and just have this mix and mingle a little bit with the colors and I hope you notice that I start out making these dark sections smaller, and then I make them closer to the white lines, which are the actual timbers. So this way, like that. That looks good. Then there's some more darks over here. So I'll do the same thing. Burnt sienna, burnt umber, a little bit of French ultramarine blue. And this is, and I'm using this smaller brush again to get some of these details in over here. And I'll pick up some greens. Okay, now I'm just going to make a little change here. Again, feel free to, if you see something you need to change for your drawing, you just change your drawing a little bit. All right, I'm going to try our we're going to paint in our donkey now, so we're going to do some darks over here. And rinse the brush off really well, and dry it off on the sponge, and then slowly soften that out. Like that. And there's a little bit of shadow under here. And a little bit of green. We'll mix in a little bit of green and blue. A little bit of warm and cool. And I'll move up to a little bit of a larger brush now. So it's a little bit darker under the belly of the here, and I rinse off my brush, dry it off on the sponge. And I'll put a little bit of yellow in that wash, just a little bit. I can paint into the column over here, like that. And we'll do another spot over here. And a little bit of darks over here. Okay, and that's looking good, and we're going to tie that right into this. And then as I go into these post areas, column areas, it's lighter on the right side. The light's coming from here. So I want to remember that, so I kind of lighten up over here. Then I'll keep working up this way. That's pretty light here. A little bit darker there. And this will all dry lighter. We can always remember that. It's going to dry lighter. Then it gets darker up here. Burnt umber, burnt sienna. Okay. And if I have to pencil something in, I do it. So if I miss a line or something, when I do my drawing and I forget a line, or I miss a line that I forgot to put in there, or I just never got it in there, I put it in while I'm painting, just so I can get it in there and do it. And we're going to make sure to do some more. Again, we try to put in some of that purple, violet, ultramarine violet, here and there. The only thing I'm very careful is to make sure I want to add it to the areas that are dry already. I don't want to add in paint where it's still damp as much as I can help it. It's kind of a good habit to have, to try not to do too much adding of paint to areas you just painted. So we've done this already. Now we've got, I'll go with even a larger brush yet. This is a number 12 round brush. Same colors we've been using. Cobalt blue, cerulean blue for the cool, burnt umber, burnt sienna, a little bit of raw umber. Rinse off the brush as I go into the yellow, and I'll go into cadmium yellow and cadmium yellow lemon. And we have a good mix of colors. And then we'll just start painting it up here. This is where we add a little bit of mysterious shadows. And you always remember that when you're painting, you know, anything really, but especially like something like ceilings or, you know, walls. There's all little shadows here and there on walls. They're not really just one color or one tonal value, I should say. So that's all we remember when we're doing this, is that we'll put in some yellow, try to infuse some yellow into this. Like that, just some colors. that we've been repeating throughout the painting we put in there. This is a little darker. And this is lighter. So it's more water, less paint. And there's a little bit of light on the underside of that arch, so let's leave that there. I tried to leave a little bit of white paper, dry paper, in between the top ceiling area and then the wall here. This is a wall, like a vertical wall, straight up. And then this is a ceiling up here, the underside of the ceiling. So this is a little darker, and then this is a little lighter. So we can even blot up a little bit of paint from there just to get it a little lighter in tonal value. And this is good, this top section. And then we have a dark we'll put in over here once this dries. We have a dark we need to put in there. This looks good. And we have some blues that we can, then we can take this same color we've used and we're going to put that in the sign. Rinse off our brush, empty our water. The water's getting muddy looking. We want to, now that we're doing really light washes here, very, very light washes, light as in tonal value, not much paint at all, just barely wash on there. We rinse off our brush in fresh, clean water, dry off our brush, and then we can take this wash and it'll remain very light for us. Now, if we had muddy water in our paint container and we hadn't emptied it and put fresh in, we would run the risk of having a darker tonal value on this sign, and we don't want that. We want to keep this sign light in here. It's a bright sign, and we're going to put some yellow in there. We're going to put in some cerulean blue, some meridian, mix it up, add a little bit of warm and cool. That will dry very light, so that's good. Okay, so that sign is completed. Okay, so that's good. What else are we looking at now? Of the again, very, very clean, fresh, clean water in my pail. Then I can get in some really subtle lights on some of these areas. Here, there's some yellow. If you find your paints are mixing up too much in the palette, you can always just blot up some paint, one section like that, and then we can get some more paint out there, some cad lemon yellow and cadmium yellow, and this way we can continue to put some of that sunny kind of sunlight. Sunlight is like bright and it's like kind of yellow. If you add yellow, like lemon yellow, cadmium lemon yellow, and cadmium yellow, it does have a feeling of light to it, that warmth of the sunlight. And then over here, we're going to leave that white paper, and this over here is sky. Sky over here, sky over here. What else do we have? Let's do this. This is cerulean blue, viridian green, cerulean blue, cobalt blue. And then we're going to add some raw umber here. And some burnt umber too. Raw umber. And then we're going to paint this in. Now what we can do is add a little more green to this. And that'll just make it appear to be a little different. In color, so that it kind of breaks up the... It'll break up the colors of this. A little color change here makes this stand out, this column stand out a little bit more, makes it look more different. And then burnt sienna, burnt umber. And then cerulean blue. And if it gets too dark in a couple places, you can just lift up a little. Paint like that. And we're going to go over here and do this. We'll make a little bit of a darker tone with raw umber, burnt sienna, a little bit of blue. And then over here, there's a little more sunlight colors. And if my colors look a little bit, I'm starting to see that I have some darker washes that kind of infiltrated down this way. So I'm going to try to make sure I don't get too much of that darker wash in there. And then I'll go back in and get my lemon yellow. Take the time, please do. Take the time. If you see some muddy problems on your palette, like things running into other colors and you're starting to lose control of a color, like this lemon started to get that blue and the darker washes and the browns down in this corner here of the palette, take the couple seconds and try to take the paper towel, wipe up that area, and then this way you can get back to the better colors, the washes that you need here. So we wanted to have definitely some really nice yellows and on this side over here. Like that. And that's why I did that. I want to make sure I can get that. And then you can do a little kind of since this is very close to us, we can get some different more details in this. So we're doing a little more details. Maybe I'll splash on a little bit of, we're going to make this a little bit, some splashes on there like that. I'm going to put a little bit of blue, cobalt blue. That's again where I'm going to change the water. I'm going to wipe up the palette a little bit. Good time for a break, so we'll take a break. I'll clean up the palette a little bit. I'll take a break, and then we're going to come back and finish up. I think we'll be able to finish up in the next 10 or 15 minutes. We just have to do the sky, the signs, and some of this over here, the bench over here, and the concrete sidewalk and patio over here underneath the arcade. So I think we're going to take another probably half an hour to finish this. But I think, yeah, half an hour should be good. I think we'll be able to do this in a half an hour pretty much. So this is a marathon of a painting. It's a lot of details again, and we're going to have more fun and we'll be right back. Well, we are back again, and we're continuing on here. Let's finish this painting. It's going to be fun from here on out. Let's start over here. I noticed there's a darker color. It looks like maybe I'll mix up a darker bit of wash up here. Burnt umber, burnt sienna. There's a darker dark here. So I'm going to take my time. This is all dry up here now, so I can rest my hand on the painting, and this way I can get a much better straight line with my brush. And that's all I needed to do there. Right along the tape border, and that goes down to about here. And then from there, that stops there, so that's a window, I believe, all the way on the left-hand side. And then the rest is pretty much light white paper with a little bit of blue there. There is a there's something over here, a dark dark. There's something over there on the bench. And then there's more, there's a bench over here. So we're seeing the bench here with the boards on the bench, and so there's that bench, and there's some and then over here there's a little bit of just some very light lines like that. Carefully go like that across there. This over here has a cobalt blue, somewhat of a cobalt blue. And that is like this here. Okay, so that's a line there. And then we still have plenty of, we just changed our water, fresh clean water. And there's a little bit of purple on the concrete here and a little bit of yellow. I'm trying to finish this section over here where our donkey is, finish this all, and then just do the sky next, and then the last would be the signs with the writing on the signs, kind of like the gingerbread of the painting, or the final details, the some really nice finishing touches. So let's see, we have a little bit of detail work for French ultramarine blue, burnt umber. We're going to do our donkey's mane here, so he's just going to have a little bit of, and he's going to, his eye, we'll make his eye dark like that. And he should have a little bit of a nostril here. And he's got a little bit of a beard. That looks okay. And looks very good, actually. And we're going to move right along. We're going to start maybe a little bit of color on those. And as well here, I'm just going to do a little bit of a quick super light wash, and the benefit is I have the fresh clean water, so all I do is I rinse my brush off, tap it on a tissue, and then just do some damp water on this area just to make it a little bit, soften it up a little bit with the lines there. I think it looks better if we kind of just do that. And we can always go in and add more washes here and there. We can make this a little finger painting. Just a little dabs of some, makes these look weathered, these columns and these stucco and old stone buildings. You add a little bit of those details, but not too many, just a few here and there, not everywhere. So if you do them a little bit over here, though, you have to kind of do them everywhere else, or they're going to look out of place. So you do them here and there a little bit over here, like that. And then you have the paper, the watercolor paper, that acts as a roughening agent, so that when you drag your finger across it, you can see those little almost like rough looking areas, like real stone would look in stucco. So that looks good. Like that. Okay. Okay, now before I do the sky wash, I'm going to use a kneaded eraser and just lift up those S's off the paper very carefully, making sure that I'm not erasing anywhere near fresh paint that's still wet or any washes that are still there, because that'll just really ruin the paper and the wash. So I have my 3 S's for the sky. I lifted those off with the kneaded eraser, and now we have the rest of the painting. We can finish up with the sky. Again, I have fresh clean water. Just put new water in, and we're going to use blue, cobalt blue and cerulean blue, and do a very, very subtle light sky wash, maybe a little purple in there too. Ultramarine violet, and again we use violet other places on our painting, so that when we do that, then we can add it into the sky and it'll look fine. So now we're going to get our blue, and we're going to do the washes here. Cobalt blue. You can add some blue to the sides. I would tend to make it darker with a little bit of ultramarine violet up here. Then I would add some fresh clean water, nothing else, just to kind of give this a nice watery look. I lift up any paint over here on the column. And then I make these clouds and sky area so the clouds are thicker up here and larger, the sky areas. So there's a little bit of, and we're just going to follow the same pattern right up through here so that the eye, when someone's looking at this, it'll look good, it'll read good here. It's going to have those lines that continue on through behind the columns, so you'll feel like it is really back there. That's real important to make sure that your lines go straight through here. Don't paint on the column, of course, you wouldn't want to do that. And you just start it again there. And if you go onto the column a little bit, no problem, lift up a little bit of tissue. And then you have that nice sky wash, and it's loose and not too, we're not fussing over it. We just pretty much put in some cobalt blue with a little bit of French ultramarine blue, a little bit of ultramarine violet we added up here, and maybe here and here a couple spots just to make excitement with the wash. And then we'll do a little touch of orange, as we always do, for the horizon line. And then over here, this is a roof, a metal roof, standing seam metal roof, and we'll get some very, very faint lines on there just to like that. And we needed to add a molding over here, a trim board over here. Let's do that. Okay. And that's a completed painting for the most part, except we do have to get a little blue in this sign here. So I just scrub on a little bit of blue here and there. I lift it up with some tissue just to get a little bit of the blue color on there, and maybe a little bit of the yellow too as well. Like that. Give it a little bit of texture. This is Fabriano paper, Artistico paper, and that's kind of helps with the textured paper. This is a rough paper, so it's Fabriano Artistico rough paper, and that you can do the finger painting a little bit and get that rough texture look to it, that, you know, that the paper gives you that extra bit of interesting texture to it. So I think we're pretty good. Almost, we'll just get the last bit of the sign here. We can do a little shadow under here. Let's do a shadow under the sign. Everything is dry pretty much over here, so I can rest my hand down on the paper, but I'm always careful. Whenever I rest my hand on the paper, I'm basically just, I always make sure I check first just to make sure I'm not leaning into the wet paint. And let's put some blue there. Okay, and we do have to touch up the car a little bit, I remember, so I'll do that. I just make that a little darker and make the line. I made this line here just a little more crisp, so that it looks, and then in the interior, we just make that a little bit more. And then over here, we don't want to forget where to do our mirror there. We'll do our mirror over there. And couple of the details here on the car. This truck, pickup truck over here. Maybe there's some molding there. And then we said we were going to use a little bit of white. Titanium white. So I take a little bit of titanium white in the tube here. And I use a little bit of yellow ochre, and I put a little bit of yellow ochre in that top of the tube, mix that with the white, just a little bit, just to make it a little bit of a warm white, and then I can just add a little bit there to the front of that truck. And my lights are flickering here. My apologies. Okay. There are some storms in the area, so I think that's why we're getting the flickering of the lights a little bit. And then we're just going to do our... We did do this wash just a second. No, we did it like about 5 minutes ago already. So you can just see I'm doing the telephone pole there. That's all I needed, just that little bit. Like that. Probably needs to be a little thicker down here. So this goes down. And I'll pretend it's... I think this would look better if I go right down through the picture here, over here. And this is how it really was in real life, I remember. So that's why I'm going to do this. And then I'll take a tissue and just blot up a couple spots. and that's fine. Okay, and now we're gonna take our needlepoint brush, and we're gonna just make some wires over here. And I just really do it fast. Kind of do a couple practice runs here. Maybe I'll go this way first, maybe. And then maybe one up this way, like that. That's all I need to kind of get the feel for it, and like that. And that's good. Just a couple lines like that. Fine lines is good. That looks fine. We don't have to go too many. And now we're going to take a break, and we'll do our final. We'll do the signs here. Before we do the signs, let's add a little shadow underneath them. So I'll just do some lines like that, shadowy lines like that, just underneath them a little bit. Maybe go with like that. Okay, one more break, and then we'll finish up our signs with some cadmium red and burnt sienna mixed in there for the hotel and the bar and cafe and the Oatman Hotel sign, and we'll be all completed 100%. I think sometimes it's better just to get through the painting for the most part, not fuss over too many details. And I think we did that. We didn't get bogged down with too many details on this one. We really did a fine job of just getting through the painting, keep on going, Ala Prima style, get a section done, kind of like work it over. We sort of did that, and we finished up now, and you can kind of see we were able to work the whole painting using all the same colors over and over and over. We didn't deviate from the colors we started with. Is the same colors we worked all the way through the whole painting, so it's got a nice harmony to it. We left white paper for highlights for bright sunlight. And we're going to take a break. And if you're enjoying this video, I always say please subscribe. The subscribe button's right down on the right-hand side here. This way you'll get new videos. Every new video that comes out that we create every week, you'll be alerted right away. And then this way you can watch it and watch it full through one time. And then if you think you want to paint it, you go the second time through it and you paint along with it, and you'll have it. You'll be able to work along with it and work along with us, and you'll have a great time of it. Watercolor is an absolutely fantastic and exciting medium. I know you'll enjoy tremendously. And if you're just new here for the first time, I want to say welcome and thank you for coming by. And I have an Extreme Beginner series also, which is basically for the beginners, the real super, just starting, don't even have paints or brushes or palettes or anything yet, and paints and paper. That's the Extreme Beginner series I do on the same channel here. And if you watch those videos, it's more geared towards just maybe beginning and starting out with, the more simple palettes, simple brushes, not as expensive gear. This video here is more expert level or advanced beginner. So this is like advanced beginner but even if you're an extreme beginner, you can try this painting. Why not? I would myself, and there's no reason why you shouldn't. But in any case, keep having fun. We'll come right back and just finish these last few spots. And again, thumbs up if you like this video. And we'll see you in just a few seconds when we'll finish up our calligraphy here. All right, let's get started on the signs. So I'm going to dry off a spot here on the palette. Make sure there's no water in here or puddles of paint. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take some cadmium red. Cadmium red. Rinse off the brush, dry off the brush on a sponge. Go in, get some burnt sienna, burnt umber, maybe some cerulean blue. This way we have a lot of variation. If we just went in and used just one color, it wouldn't look so great. So we're going to mix around a little bit and we'll get this started. So I'll start off with this here. I'm going to move at a good pace here. I don't want to try to... And then I'll add a little bit of darker spots here and there onto the already painted in areas. And this here is the mystery writing. I'm just a couple... This is gold. Gold City Saloon. There we go. Perfect. Maybe I'll just add a little bit of a and we'll go over here. This is out in the sunlight more. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it more cadmium red, straight cadmium red. And this is the bar. And I'll go with a little darker mix there. And you can see I'm mixing around, maybe a little bit of dark, a little bit of light. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, I think that's good. And there's another. This is like a dark, almost like a black over here. There's another small, someone must have painted bar over here, just so maybe people walking by will see it, that are walking on the sidewalk areas or the street area. So there's a little sign there that says bar. And I'm going to leave, I think I'm going to leave everything as it is. It looks really good. I hope you enjoyed this painting. We had just a fun time. Everything went really well. I noticed I had to do one more thing here. There was some more. We have to make our cold pop sign here. It's always fun to have some mystery to things, so this is a little bit of a... Over here is the mystery writing. We're not exactly, it might be something else written over here. And yeah, this is fine. This sign over here, I thought there was more shadow on it. A little bit of a shadow under the sign here. Might be a window, a sign, I don't know. Maybe we'll put a little bit of mystery writing on that one too. Okay, everyone, have a great time with this painting. Feel free to leave comments in the comments section. I think this is something everyone can do. Even extreme beginner, you can do a more simplified version of this. Maybe you would take a small section of this painting and just do this section over here and then kind of leave this out for now. Try this section first. I always mention that's a great way to do a painting. If you want to paint a larger painting, you might want to, I used to do this a lot when I first started, is I would take a section of a painting I wanted to paint, do this section maybe once or twice by itself on a separate piece of paper, then go over here and do this section, and then maybe do up here a third section. And if I did each section like 2 or 3 times by itself, then when I did my final painting, which was the full-size painting, it was so much easier to do it. It was almost like just went like super smooth. So if I tried doing this painting years ago all at one time, it would be a lot more difficult versus if I tried to paint each section maybe once or twice, or parts of it even, and then it would be a little bit easier because I'd be more familiar with it. So I hope that makes sense, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.